there everyone, welcome back to James Redmond TV and welcome to another Redmond Roundup, the show where we talk about our latest transfer in Alexis Mac Allister, the Argentinian beautiful man, but combined with probably one of the most British names of all time. Is one of those things where maybe the name to some people might not seem too exciting because it's not Lionel Messi or it's not Enzo Fernandez, something quite cool, it's Mac Allister, and that sounds very Scottish or British or... That was one of those Love Island moments, and I'm not going to edit it out because I feel like that needs to be left in for my own learning. The fact that I've just said Scotland or Britain, bad from James. Either way, we've just signed Mac Allister. I am here to talk to you not only if he's going to be a good sign, and I feel like I've let you know that before, that information on whether I think he's going to be good or not, and I do think he's going to be good. I actually think he was the best option out of what we could have got. What did we need? We needed someone with that technical ability. Quite clearly, we've been looking for that when we didn't get a direct replacement for Gini, and we got Thiago, someone who's stylistically completely different, and I love the idea of Thiago, but he plays once in every 3 games, and even though he's still going to be in the squad, therefore he can still be an asset, who's going to be the guy who can replace him? Because we've saw it's not going to be Harvey Elliott. We've saw Curtis Jones has potential, but to say that he is definitely the guy to replace Thiago for that role is not it. So Thiago's not fulfilling the role Jurgen Klopp brought him in to do because he's not playing, and then Curtis Jones and Harvey aren't good enough. You need to go and get someone else. So then we were linked with Mason Mount, then we were linked with Mac Allister, kind of like advanced 8s. Now, Thiago has played in the 6 before as well, but he also likes to play in the 8 role, and he thrives in both of those roles. And I'd suggest when he's got less defensive work to do and he has more on-the-ball work to do, that is when Liverpool thrives. So Gary Mac Allister is being brought in to make us a more on-the-ball team. Why? Because then that means the more of the ball we have, meaning the less chances the opposition are going to have because they're not going to have as many shots. Plus, it means we can go back to that style of play where we would score 1 or 2 in the first 20 minutes, 30 minutes. By then, the game's done. Because what you're going to start doing as the opposition is coming at Liverpool. But now, what's going to happen is you're going to leave a high line and gaps to leave for Nunes, Salah, who we're going to have next season. Diaz as well, a couple of these players. Before, it was Mane, Salah and Firmino. Now, it seems like we've got the electric players. But to get the ball to these explosive players and also goal scorers, Nunes is being brought in to be a goal scorer. Salah has been brought in and has been a goal scorer. It's about who's going to get them the goals. Gary Mac Allister is someone who's being brought in to increase the volume of goals that these guys get through the passes, through the crossing and through the vision that he has, because on the ball, Gary Mac Allister is a very solid player. And out of all the options, because people sit here and they'll say we should have got Jude Bellingham. People sit here and they say Mason Mount is a Champions League winner. He's proven at the highest level. I would have much preferred Mac Allister over Mason Mount. Let me just get that first and foremost out there. Not because Mason Mount is Mason Mount. I feel like the ceiling is higher for Mac Allister than what it is for Mason Mount. I understand they're both young. I feel that there's a lot of distractions within the English... what do I say? Within the English culture to where all the boys from England go out and meet and whatnot. I feel like there's something that lacks there mentally. So if something goes wrong, I feel like players in England, especially the modern players in England, are less capable of handling it. So if they get an abuse, I think that's very difficult to manage for a modern day English footballer based on how we've been brought up. I'm basically saying we're basically softies, because if you look at the people older than us, if you can look at the last generation of footballers, they were bad motherfuckers. Like, everyone would shit themselves off Roy Keane. Now, no one craps themselves off footballers. People are more scared of YouTubers than footballers. I think that goes to a testament to say where we are in society. So when you see some of these players like Mason Mount, it's very easy for those players to be susceptible to criticism and then let that affect them, the same way it's affected them at Chelsea. Now, it's all good when these players are doing well and the City's backing you, when Mason Mount was winning the Champions League and everyone loved him and he was going to be the next Frankie Lampard. I'm not saying he still can't be a good player. I'm just thinking, okay, what's the best Mason Mount? And if we've seen the best Mason Mount, do we want that at Liverpool if he can even replicate it? I'm okay. I'm all good. I feel like we've saw the best of what Mason Mount can be. I'm not saying he can't amplify the numbers slightly, and I'm certainly not saying Jurgen Klopp couldn't have got a tune out of him. But for a player who I wanted, who I prefer, who I think adds more quality, it's Mac Allister. He's from Argentina. The culture's a lot tougher in Argentina. It's one of those things where if you lose, you can... a lot of these players have the capability to bounce back through their own mindset. They just believe in their ability alone. That's what you're taught to be in these countries. If you're in the starting 11 for Argentina or Brazil, you've probably got a little bit of something about you based on your technique. Maybe other areas are lacking, which is why some teams might say they might not want Neymar or whatever have you, or why people might say Fred looks English when he plays for Man United. But when he plays for Brazil, you see exactly what they do with Fred because he's being brought up that way. And if he gets criticism, it's fine because he adheres to that system. Mac Allister's someone who's coming from a bit of a tougher background, I'd say a more winning place, and it's just one of those things where I think he can integrate into our team very, very nicely. And, you know, listen, there's some very, very good South American footballers who have came to the Premier League and done really good work. He's already done well so far. He's established. He's a potential superstar. And he smiles like Lionel Messi. So, happy days all round from the Mac Allister transfer. Let me know what you think in the comments down below regarding it. And I see people saying, like, oh, because Mason Mount's linked with Manchester United. And I'll talk about that specific transfer in another video. But I am so happy with the option of Mac Allister over Mount. They would have been a similar amount. I do believe Mac Allister's got a higher ceiling. And I believe people are only just looking at who they've seen more if they lean towards Mason Mount. Because if you see them next to each other, you know, if you saw a compilation, you can see Mac Allister is a better footballer, technical-wise. I mean, if you want to say that Mason Mount would listen more to the manager, would get less distracted, and is just superior on the mental side of things, then maybe that's a different conversation. Based on what I've seen, I haven't seen anything to suggest that he is mentally superior to Mac Allister, nor have I seen anything to suggest that he's technically superior to Mac Allister. And we were never getting Jude, so it was Mac Allister, Jude or Mason Mount for that advanced midfielder that Liverpool needed. Mac Allister's going to fill that role, and I'm very happy about it. And I hope that it's the first of 2 or 3 midfield signings. But let's break that down. We've got Henderson, we've got Fabinho, we've got Thiago. None of those are leaving, right? So they're kind of the old dudes of the midfield. We already know who's left. Then now we can add Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott into that mix. So you've got the 3 old dudes who are kind of the guys who Thiago plays in an 8 and a 6. Henderson can play in an 8 and a 6. Fabinho plays in a 6. Then you've got Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott. These 2 are the guys who will be the more advanced people in the midfield. I'd also suggest Jurgen Klopp might open the idea of playing Elliott in the front 3, but then I combat that with the fact I've never saw us use a right winger like Harvey Elliott, or left winger for that matter. Mane's quick and explosive, Diaz is quick and explosive, Salah is quick and explosive. I don't ever see Harvey Elliott being the guy who gets 30 goals or 50 goals in a season, you know what I'm saying? Like, Salah was actually close to these numbers. I don't see Harvey Elliott being that type of player, a volume goal scorer. I see him more as a creative player, and that's why I'm thinking if he is to play in midfield, is he another option? If he's another option, and we've got 6 options plus the guys coming back from loan deals, the Tyler Mortons, the Leighton Clarksons, we now know Bajcetic is more favoured by the manager. What does that mean for more midfielders? Because if you're happy with Mac Allister, so am I. If you're happy with just Mac Allister, that's where I'm a little bit upset. You know what I'm saying? It's like bringing me an Xbox 360 without a controller. Why have you bought me an Xbox 360? There's no point in spending 60 million on Mac Allister if you're not going to go and get the enforcements around him. It's like buying Lionel Messi, putting him in Accrington Stanley, and now hoping you're going to win the Champions League. It makes no sense. That's an extreme example, I understand, but just hear what I'm saying. Mac Allister alone is not going to bring Liverpool back to the Premier League and Champions League, which is what we want. We want to be competing on all fronts. Mac Allister alone will not achieve such feat, especially with the collection of midfielders that I've just told you about that we've got at our disposal. But what will improve those chances is Mac Allister and Jude Bellingham and Mason Mount. Now, we're not going to get all 3. I'm just saying. Say Ugarte from Lisbon, he's just joined PSG, funnily enough, so we're not going to get him. But if we got Mac Allister, Ugarte, and then I'm just going to say Jude, just for the sake I can't think of another midfielder. Say we got Jude as well, what a window. Do you get what I'm saying? The point I'm saying, get me at least 2 more midfielders, but I have always been advocating for 3, and then now look at Harvey Elliott as more of an attacking option, opposed to anything else. Because we've let go of a lot of players, you know, Naby Keita's gone, Oxlade's gone. These were 2 hugely significant signings at the time that they signed for us, and now that those 2 hugely significant signings didn't have the impact we thought they were going to, now we need to go out and replace them with 2 huge significant signings, and then you probably need to go and get another midfielder with with a bit more experience. You've ticked one of them down. You've got Mac Allister. Let's say he replaces Oxlade. Who's now going to replace Keita? Who's going to replace Keita? What Keita was going to be? Who's going to be the guy who could actually at least propose a challenge to earn the number 8 shirt, opposed to the number 8 shirt that Keita was just given? And then James Milner, who's going to come in and replicate that experience. Now, I believe that's Jordan Henderson. But this is why I say at least 2 midfielders. We've got one, get one more of high profile, not average players. I'm not talking about somebody like Ruben Loftus-Cheek or someone of that calibre. Good footballers, but not footballers who are going to take you to that next level. So get me someone of a high ilk, someone who's got potential to be able to take this team further. Someone who's got a high ceiling, who's already got a good pedigree, exactly like Mac Allister. So Liverpool have done well so far on the transfer front because you've gone and got at least one of the main players that we need to improve the starting 11. If you believe Curtis, Thiago and Henderson and all these players are good enough to fill out your squad, I think for one season, I don't see how that's a huge detriment. But you need to now go and get another midfielder because Mac Allister being added to that midfield is not just good enough by itself. Now you need to go and get someone of high elk and then boom, it complements each other. It creates more consistency. It gives the squads more options. And therefore, when you have an injury crisis like what you've had 2 out of the last 3 seasons, you've got options, which I thought was kind of common sense, but apparently not. Let me know what you think in the comments down below about the transfer, about everything that I have just spoke about in terms of the position, because Mac Allister's a good transfer. By himself, he's not a good transfer. It just doesn't make sense by himself. It needs to have more reinforcements. And then, who is that reinforcement going to be is the question I want to sort of drag over to you guys, because I haven't been keeping up to date with all the number 8s in the world that we can get. I haven't been keeping up with any new gems, and I don't want to just say a name that I know to be good from years gone by, like, I don't know, like a Goretzka, someone completely unrealistic, but, you know, like an established name. And I think it's a shame that Liverpool can't confess an established name and get them. For instance, Kovacic could be going to City. I would love Kovacic. Calvin Phillips is at Manchester City. I would love Calvin Phillips. As an option for the squad, I would love Calvin Phillips. I would love Kovacic. I think these are 2 significant improvements to the squad that Liverpool can't get. And I understand they're not the profile of transfers that we get. And I understand that that's not always the best approach, is to get the biggest names, and you can create a very sustainable model by getting the lesser known names and spending less money and then turning those players into big assets. I mean, Dortmund have done it. We've done it to some degree, but I think now if you want to be a consistently competing team, that's the approach you need to take. It's at least a risk that is worth taking, because we've shown on the previous model it's not given us consistent success. It's brought us a good bit of success and a really nice chunk of it. I mean, we've won every trophy under Jurgen Klopp in the span of 6 years, 7 years. I believe a manager of Klopp's ilk and a stature or a stature of Liverpool's ilk is, you know, a complete recipe to higher the standards. If you've got a world-class manager, you've got the heritage that Liverpool has, let's set the bar a little bit higher. Why not compete on all fronts? Like why not think like the way a Real Madrid does? Why not think the way a Barcelona does? And then you'll respond to me, resources. How do we maximise those resources? Because I've saw no investment into the club. I've saw no new ownership. If FSG are going to stay, who are you going to bring in? Who's going to add to those funds? Because we've spent 60 million of what I think I've heard to be £150 million transfer budget this summer. One of those other ones have got to go on a midfielder, but then we also need a backup right back. Then we also need a defender. Maybe the right back, you can say Conor Bradley because he's done well at Bolton. Again, I think that's very, very safe. I just don't understand how not adding depth is more beneficial than just leaving it astray. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Only time will tell in the season ahead, and I'm very excited for that. But Mac Allister's a red, up the mighty Reds, and he now adds to a very beautiful collection of some washed midfielders, some good midfielders, but all legends in their own little right. Anyway, thank you for watching. Love to you and your mothers, and I will see you all in a bit. Peace.